appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, Ernie. It's been cool to talk to you on the phone about everything with Waffle Forest and what you're trying to do there. So with Tsunami, a little bit about ourselves, Ryan and myself. We historically had worked with distributing several other manufacturers, atmospheric water generators, and distributed some good products. They just weren't as reliable as we'd hoped. And we started working with Tsunami a little while back, and we liked theirs enough that recently we've become a majority partner with them, and we're going to be moving manufacturing from Washington, Texas, and hopefully keep blowing up the AWG world. That's our goal, is to the world's largest manufacturer of atmospheric water generators, and expose everybody to the world of air to water machines.
People know what is an atmospheric water generator and what it does.
Virtually what we're doing in the air, there's this wonderful thing called humidity. Some people like it, some people don't. What happens when you have heat and humidity in the air, what that does is that creates a dew point. A dew point gets to a certain number, then what happens is how much water is in the atmosphere and how dense it is. And so what our machines do is they utilize the water that's in the atmosphere and the denseness of it, and we pull it out of the air through our machine, kind of like an air conditioner would. What it does is that hot, humid, water-filled air runs over a coil, and that coil is super cold. And so what it does is it changes the state of a gas form of water, aka humidity, and it turns it into a liquid. And then from there, it goes through a filtration process, which then from that point allows you to have drinking water or water for plants or livestock or other different applications for just your normal house use, whatever that may be. But all we're doing is taking water in a gas form, condensing it down using cold methods. And what that does is it turns it into a liquid that you can drink once it's filtered. So
it's almost like one of those big dehumidifiers, but like in the garage, just a bigger scale. Mm-hmm. And you guys have like a nice filter.
Yeah, same concept.
Talk about, I guess, water quality. I think that's an important factor, not just for Waffle Forest, but what you guys do in general.
We had a customer recently that's looking to open a bottling plant. They wanted to try out some water, and took it from one of our machines that we have running at that ranch property here in Texas. Water had been sitting in there, produced and sanitized, hadn't been circulated for about a month. And so we just bottled it up, mailed it to them. We're like, okay, well, if anything, this is about as bad as it could be. They took it to this lab in LA, and the lab called our customer a couple days later and said, hey, where'd you get this water from? Well, this is the purest water we've tested since we opened this lab. So whenever it comes to just TDS, or total dissolved solids in the water, our machine is at anywhere between 1 and 4 parts per million, and it's pH neutral, which means it's virtually the same as distilled water. Obviously, it hadn't gone through a distillation process like distilled water, but as far as content-wise, it's the same. Now, when it comes to drinking, there's different parties of thought on, okay, is it okay to drink distilled water? Is that going to leach minerals from your body? Some people say, oh, no, it's not a big deal. What we just do from there is, if somebody would like to have, for a drinking application, alkaline water is a really popular thing now. You can just run it through an alkaline mineralization cartridge and easily changing into 9.5, 10 pH water.
Talk about like your guys' different machines and varieties you guys have, the sizes and what they all do.
Our main product line is we have a home unit, which is called the T50, is going to do, depending on the environment, anywhere from 6 to 12 gallons of water a day. The intention of that machine is for just personal drinking water. So you can tie it to your sink with a spigot. You can tie it to your refrigerator if you have a dispenser to make ice and also drink the water coming out of your fridge. The one up from there is the T500 or Tsunami 500, and that would be our flagship unit. So that machine, in the right environment, can do over 200 gallons of drinking water a day. In Florida, we had one in Naples doing on average around 215 gallons a day. That's our baby, if you want to call it that, as far as our units goes. And so we've actually taken that unit as well, and we've modified it, put it on a trailer. And so we've designed that for disaster relief applications. You could use that in remote environments, like for the military, for off the grid projects. If you're doing a pipeline, for example, running electrical wire across the desert or whatever that may be, and be able to get water to people that need it. The Tsunami 750, which is kind of a larger version of the 500, are still kind of developing that one to a point. The idea of that is it goes more on like an industrial scale. So if you're really needing Yeah, Steven sharing a screen. That's our trailer mounted unit 500. So just allows you to be mobile with your water. And then the 750 is just souped up version of that if you just need more water than what the 500 can do. The thing that's different about our machine, most AWG companies runs on single phase 220 volt power. You use it in a setting like a house. Most machines are ran off of 3-phase power, and most people don't have access to 3-phase power. Where we've really tried to set ourselves apart is making it as easy as possible. Then the T50 runs off just like a normal outlet, a 110 plug, like where you plug a lamp into. It runs directly off that.
As far as projects or people using your products for like plants or, trees, can you talk about that?
There's 2 really good case studies that we have for using for agricultural purposes. One is a customer in Naples, Florida. So he had, I don't know if you're familiar with plumeria trees, they're pretty finicky to get growing. And he used as a case study 2 different groups of them he was trying to grow. And one was using his well water, rainwater and catchment system. And the other one he used the 500 for. Well, in the growth cycle, over the 3 months that he did this test for, the plumerias using air water were over twice the height. Ryan has some pictures of that we can share. And so this was a 3-month side-by-side watering growth tests. So there's the ones that were watered by well water and rainwater. And one thing to note is these trees were the same, from the same batch from the nursery when he got them.
Really?
And those are
that's from air water.
Oh, wow.
So 100% growth rate.
Yeah. Second case study is from one of our customers who is near Austin, Texas, and he is a horticulturist for a large ranch here. He uses it for a greenhouse as well as a garden that's supplying a sustainable green-based farm-to-table restaurant. And one thing that he noted was with his orchids that he always grows, his orchids, since he started using air water, have been the biggest batch of orchids he's ever grown and the healthiest orchids he's had. Him being a horticulturist, we said, okay, well, would you mind going into depth a little more? He said, well, that's easy. There's 0 presence of salt in the water. And so the plants aren't being dehydrated by having the water. Not only is he having cleaner water for his plants, but he's having to use less water and growing them bigger. Obviously, I'm not an arborist or a horticulturist or anything like that, but from guys that are kind of in that know that we've dealt with, there's a drastic improvement in the growth and health and success of their plants, which is really neat to see.
To talk about Waffle Forest and our project, I know we're in Arizona and the humidity is kind of low, but throughout the year, it's not always the driest March to like August, just 4 or 5 months. Usually we have a lot of humidity. Can you talk about the challenges we face Waffle Forest and using these to help fill our water storages? Obviously, there are certain months, like anywhere else you're going to have them. You're not going to be able to use them throughout the whole year because of weather. Our goal would kind of be use these to help fill our water storages in the times we can. Understand how many trees each unit can sustain based on our data research.
As far as Arizona goes, the misconception a lot of times with humidity or drier climates, I live in Dallas, Fort Worth, the most humid time of the day is actually at night. Reason being is because the sun's not there to dry out the water that's in the air. That is one thing about Arizona, something that is very intriguing, especially with what you're doing. You can utilize that time of day to really capitalize on your water production. The other thing about as far as Waffle Forest and putting AWG around plantation is that plants are known to shed a lot of moisture in general, and they evaporate. The machine now has the opportunity to be in an environment that's actually more humid than it would be if it was 100 feet away from vegetation. And cornfields are actually a really good one. They actually put off 1,000 gallons of water a day in evaporation. Same with trees. That's one thing that we're excited for Waffle Forest to understand exactly how much water a tree needs. Then we can go from there and utilize machines. But the good thing is because the machines are in the environment that they're producing for, they're aiding to the life cycle of what you're trying to accomplish, which is really neat. Thing too is, for humidity, sun dries things out. And so being in a shaded environment, it's just another benefit to be able to run more efficiently, not getting beat down by the sun all day. It's in the canopy of the trees. We're really excited about what this could do for the people of Arizona and get them some better vegetation and cactus.
Cool thing, we're putting a forest and adding technology. We have our own tree monitors, able to understand the liquid flow from the roots to the leaves and understand specific tree is lacking water so we can go water it by utilizing all this technology, especially atmospheric water generators in the desert. we really can create a self-sustaining forest. One last question: the technology in general, what do you guys think about it? How it impacts the world? How it impacts different people every day? They're not just building a forest, but if they want to have one in their house, or what are some of the great things about why you like doing the atmospheric water generator? You guys call them AWGs?
Yeah, AWG, air water generator, atmospheric water generator, saves a few seconds a day for us. One thing we talk about a lot is here in the US, we're starting to see water crisis in larger metropolitan areas for the first time in modern history. Of course, we've had extended droughts for forever, but there's always those drought seasons. But now, you're seeing municipal water supply cut off. There's the crisis with Lake Mead. There's different reservoirs in Texas that are at their lowest all-time recorded levels. It's really cool for us being an American-based, American-made product to start to have applications for that's helping people with life-sustaining source. There's different military applications that we've been talking to the DoD about. And so, water is the biggest force multiplier for our troops. And so it's cool to be able to hopefully serve and help our country in that capacity. Where AWG really thrives is remote and austere environments. So there's a lot of countries in the Caribbean and Africa and a lot of these areas where there's no potable drinking water, where this is a life-changing source. We had a call with some gentlemen in West Africa yesterday morning, and the way that they described it when they were talking to one of the ambassadors for their country, they said, the ambassador said, it's like a miracle from God, this machine. It's a completely different scenario than having to go and dig water wells that may be contaminated or may not have enough water, or may have to go through a substantial filtration process. And so it's really neat to be able to offer a machine that's genuinely helping people. And we're really excited to be doing it at home here in the US.
In a lot of those countries, getting water is a big process. They have to get water, bring it in, then they have to boil it. So that's one of the main reasons we wanted to go with you guys, because you guys are, made in America, build these products and help people, change their lives, water trees and water plants. And like you said, Lake Mead's drying up, especially in Arizona. We're going to start getting restrictions. Us building the forest, that was our number one priority, is like how we water this and understanding everything's drying up. I think you guys, it's some amazing technology, really helps a lot of people. And anybody listening to this, go check their website out. It's really good technology. If you have cabin, instead of getting wells and having to pumping a unit out there to really help out.
Absolutely. I mean, I personally am doing that here in Texas. I have a ranch property in Central Texas, and the water's supplying, water for the homes, drinking water for the homes, and as well, backup water supply for livestock. We've had an exceptionally bad drought the last 2 years. And there's been times where before we put this unit out there, we were having to truck water in for livestock, which is just not sustainable if everybody starts doing that. And now we have a source that protects livestock that, they're not just our pets. We grow those livestock for consumption, and they feed my family, Ryan's family, and that's helping protect our livelihood. And so it's really, really neat to see the different applications like that, remote places like that. So I know we talked about it's covering an old landfill
project in Phoenix, Arizona. Our goal is to take a landfill, 200 acres, and turn it into a forest. Right now, we're phase one. We have to test and show what we're doing as a pilot program. Now we're getting an acre out in Phoenix. We're going to plant our first 20 to 50 trees. We want to use one of your guys' units to see, how many trees can be sustained and how much water we can collect. Phase one right now, our project, what we're doing is we want to make sure that we can track this, keep data. Nobody has data, keep a sustainable forest, so we can monitor every single drip of the water. Our technology also lets us understand how many drops of water a day, so we can conserve water. Well, this tree needs X amount of gallons. Well, we understand how many drips it needs a day to survive, and what tree needs more based on rays coming in. So we're doing for our phase one project for Waffle Forest.
And I think you had mentioned when we were on the phone the other day too, that the city runoff runs right next to your project site.
Yes.
The water, there's a constant flow runoff.
On and off. It's the Salt River project, so there's usually a lot of water sitting in there, the rain, everything they collect.
Well, I'm really curious to have one of our machines run out there next to that, because obviously with the evaporation that's going to be happening out there, just like in Texas, in Phoenix, you got that wonderful western sun shining on you all the time. So I'm sure that's extra humid. And so I'm curious to see the change in production that's going to create. One of the things that we're wanting to try out here is our new manufacturing plant we're going to open is going to be in Midland, Texas, which is the heart of oil and gas production in the US. And so we have frac ponds everywhere. And so one thing we'd like to do that's, another part of being green is with these frac ponds, well, there's massive amount of water evaporation. And so, okay, if we can put these machines near these ponds, can we reclaim some of that water? Can we be more sustainable and responsible with the usage of water that's going on here in West Texas, or that's going on in the oil and gas industry? Can we help oil and gas companies be more economically responsible? And so I think that's a cool thing too, because same situation, you have these city runoffs like we're talking about in Phoenix. Mm-hmm. Can we be more responsible with that water that's essentially just a waste? Can we maybe take it to California? There's the LA River. Mm-hmm. Can we help reclaim some of the water and mitigate the California water crisis? So those are things, we're excited to see. It'll be a great pilot opportunity to see how that works as well.
I'm excited to test that trailer. We'll be soon bringing that over and testing it here in Phoenix, and I'm really excited. Thank you guys so much. Ryan, did you have anything else to add?
Want information, go to our website, just www.tsunamiproducts.com, or you can email us at info@tsunamiproducts.com. We monitor that day in and day out, and so we'll get back to you as soon as we can. And looking forward to talking to anyone who's interested and working with you and your team.